Hi, I'm Rafael. I'm a freelance app developer. I usually live in the Xamarin cross-platform sphere, so like I'm a bit more on the .NET side, I also really enjoy looking and doing some small stuff with React Native. However, I will not go in depth with React Native today, but with automated, with continuous integration and automated UI testing. First of all, you can find me on Twitter. If you have any questions about this topic, I really like to talk about that, so feel free to reach out to me. Who of you is developing mobile apps commercially? Some. Who of you does continuous integration for those apps? Not that many. Who of you does the UI testing? Oh, cool. What do you use?
Oh, we use it for mobile.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm not using for.
Okay. So which CI systems have you used or are you using? Just out of interest, or any?
Fastlane.
Okay, Fastlane. Yeah, cool. So first of all.
I tried one Color.
Cool. Yeah. So I've said news about Color later. Okay, so why do we want to do that? Why do we want to do continuous integration? And I have a PowerPoint with 7 slides, 5 are pictures, 1 is my Twitter handle. So first of all, I as a freelancer, I have the problem that always my clients want to have like cool shit. We have to assure the quality, but usually the budget is very low. So that's the first problem. The other problem is that somehow the tools we use, the app has to integrate and fit into the system. And if there's a bad user experience, it sucks for everyone. And the last thing, and that's like the most important thing, and I think one thing why a lot of people do not go for CI or UI testing, it takes a lot of time, and the developer experience is not always perfect. So like, it works in the end, but the way is not nice. So that's about why we want to do that. First things first, I will talk a bit about Visual Studio Mobile Center, formerly known as Azure Mobile Center. This is a product by Microsoft. So this might be a bummer for some people, but I can assure you that everything's fine. Let's jump right into the demo. And I will directly go into Azure Mobile Center. And what Azure Mobile Center allows you, it allows you to do multiple things. First of all, I will focus today on continuous integration and UI testing, as I said before. But you can do a lot more stuff. So in this sample, I will just go ahead and create a new project from scratch. So I will switch over to GitHub. And I have to move away. Okay. I will switch over to GitHub, create a new repository. So that's the React Meetup. I will create this repository. So now I have my repository on GitHub. I switch to my Git client, which is Gitkraken. Awesome tool. Super happy with that. So I will clone this repository from GitHub. So it's the React Meetup. React Meetup, clone this repository, open now, initialize. I'm using it. So next thing is I quickly add a git ignore file for React. For that I shoot up a new window of Visual Studio Code, new file, paste the content, and I will navigate to the project React Meetup. And this is the .gitignore. So far so good, nothing special. I added the gitignore important comment messages. So and now React Native. So I will go into the terminal, navigate to my React Meetup, to my folder that I just created, and I will just initialize a blank React Native project. So React Native init React Meetup app. So let's wait for this to complete. Adding the git ignore file for those of you who have not used React before with git is extremely important because otherwise your git will die because there are just too many files that are created on the fly while you debug. So installing packages. Okay, while we're waiting, let's go right into the mobile center and just see what we can do here. And I have created a sample app. Or you know what, we directly create a new app. So like we click add a new app. And first of all, we have to specify an app name. So that's the React Meetup app. I have to select the operating system. So like in this case scenario, I first select Android, and I have to select the platform. The nice thing is that Azure Mobile Center is not like only tied to Microsoft platforms. The interesting thing, and I found this a very nice statement from Microsoft, is when they first started Azure Mobile Center, which is still in active development, iOS and Android have been first, and 2 or 3 months later, Windows support was added. So you really see where the focus is, which is kind of nice. So yeah, we can select React Native or Java or Xamarin, add a new app, click, and yeah, we are right into the overview page. And as I said before, you can not only do continuous integration and UI testing in Mobile Center, but you can also, for example, add the Mobile Center SDK into your app, and then it can do for you analytics and track crashes and all this kind of stuff. So like this really becomes a place where all of your telemetry data can live. You can also team this up with Azure and create like a cool way to use mobile databases. I will show a bit about this later. So let's see if the project was created, and I will just check it in it and push submit. And now I have the scenario that I work on Git for my React Native project, and I want to every time I do a commit, I want to automatically build the project, and in the best case I also want to run some tests to see if the build I just created is good. So here we can just go to build, and we can select out of 3 different services, GitHub, Bitbucket, or Visual Studio Team Services. I go for GitHub since we have our repository there. So I search for the React Meetup repository, and the source code is checked in, so that's not a problem. Then we see, okay, there's only one branch, the master branch, so like we select this and we click on set up branch. Now Azure Mobile Center automatically detects that there's an React Native project with Android support living inside this repository. So we can select this. We can tell if we want to do a debug or a release build. So we just keep this on release. And we can say we want to build automatically on every push, or only when I select it manually in the portal or over the CLI interface. What we can also do, which is a very nice feature, we can also run NPM tests during the build. So like if the tests fail, the build fails. So that's the first step. We can also sign the builds if we want to, upload a key store file, and distribute the builds to our testers, but I will show this a bit later. So what we can also do, and that's a very cool feature, we can test it on a real device. So if we enable this, and this will take a bit longer, but I will just save it now, and you can see it in approximately 10 minutes, is what it will do now. Every time, and you directly see it's queued, every time you push to your branch, it will build your app in release configuration, then it will deploy it on a real device that's hosted in a big device farm where tens of thousands of Android devices live in Denmark, and it will take a screenshot of your app to validate if the app launches or if it will crash when you launch the app. So that's a cool service. So you have some kind of one deeper level of testing without having to configure a lot. So like it took us like 10 minutes just to set up an automated build system for Android. And we can do the same for iOS. And that's super cool for all the developers, first of all, maybe who do not have constant access to a Mac, or that know the struggle to set up build systems utilizing iOS. So we create a new app, add new app, and we select iOS, React Native again. So this is also the React Meetup app, add new app. Same overview here. Only the platform is iOS instead of Android. So same here, we go to React Meetup. Then we wait for the branch to load. We select the branch, set up branch. Also here, it says, okay, we can select the Xcode version that we want to use for the build. Also here we can run unit tests. Also here we can sign the builds. The difference on iOS is, of course, we can only test on a real device when we sign the build, which we will not do now. So we click setup. And now we also have continuous integration, or like an automated build setup for iOS, which was kind of fast. So let's check back in the React Meetup Android app and see where the build is at. So yeah, we can just wait for this to finish. But while this is building online, we can continue and enhance our app and look a bit into the topic of UI testing. So yep, okay. There were some people who did UI testing before. So do you use this on production apps? Are you currently using it, or have you used it once?
I have used it.
Or you have used it? Okay, cool. What have you used?
I used
Okay, you use Calabash. Okay.
Yeah, I used Calabash and go to Meetup to simulate the app and then try to test the UI.
Okay. Yeah. Good point with Calabash. So originally today I wanted to show Calabash and Cucumber, which is a really cool way to do automated UI testing. Sadly, Microsoft announced a month ago or 3 weeks ago that they will not continue to develop, to actively develop Calabash, which is kind of sad. But of course, there's another thing, which is Xamarin UI tests. You can also use Appium or Espresso or XCUI in Azure Mobile Center. But yeah, I kind of really like the Xamarin UI tests. The only downside on Xamarin UI tests is they are written in C#. So you need to install either like on Windows Visual Studio Community or on the Mac Visual Studio for Mac, which are free tools, but you need to install that in order to prepare and run the unit tests. If you do not want to do that, of course you can use Appium, but I really prefer that way. But before we can do any UI testing, we need something to test. So I will open up a new window for Visual Studio Code and just open the folder in which we have just created our React Native app. So it's React Meetup. Open. React Meetup app. We go to the index Android.js. And what I will just do is I will just create 3 buttons, and if you click the buttons, the background color of the page will change. So I will quickly add a button here, button on press is on red. Oops. And the title is red. And what's important is when we want to UI test our apps in React Native with Xamarin UI test, we need to add an accessibility label to the app, because the framework will use the accessibility label to search for the elements. So we give it a label and we also call it red. I will also, where's the terminal? React Native run Android Oh. Okay, now that should work. Let's wait for this. And just copy and paste the buttons on green, 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 on blue, blue. That takes some time. But since I'm too lazy to copy everything, I of course have prepared something, and I will just copy and paste this in, because otherwise it would take some minutes which are super unnecessary. This view style. Oops, and we will get rid of this. Not the prettiest source code anymore, but it works. So what happens now? Nothing spectacular. You click. Come on, what happened? What did I copy and paste? Oh, I think this happened. I will just copy the entire method because I don't know what I. Oh, I lost the render method. Right. What's wrong with that? Good question. Did anybody see it? Where? Here? Ah, perfect. Red, green, blue. Thanks for the time. Okay, so that's our app. Before we continue with UI testing, let's check back to our mobile center. We see it's still running here. So yeah, we have to wait for this. So while this is building, we go ahead and go on with UI testing. So this is a pretty simple app, but imagine you have like a big app with a lot of controls, and on iOS we don't really have this problem that much, but on Android it's pretty huge. How will your app look on different device sizes? So currently there are like 19,000 different Android devices out there that have different configurations, different screen sizes, different resolutions. So it's a nightmare for UI. So like Android is the worst thing that can happen to you as a designer or UI developer. So the thing is, now we have created our app and we may maybe test it on 1 or 2 devices. So how can we test it on multiple devices, or maybe on 100 or 1,000 devices to assure that our app looks good on the biggest set of devices possible.
Before you answer the question, could you just explain briefly what's the setup? On the right-hand side, I understand.
Okay, yes.
I don't understand the left-hand side.
Oh.
Is this part of the Azure solution?
No, this is the normal Android emulator. So like this comes with Android Studio. So like this is the Google, that's the Google Android emulator. You some people are new to React a bit.
Not React, but on React Native.
On React Native, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I will just give a quick wrap up on what's going on here. So yeah, that's the Google emulator. The cool thing is you can enable on the emulator, when you press Command and M, you can enable hot reloading. And what happens there, and that's super cool if you get started with React Native, is if you just write some source code here, or like change something here and say hello world and save, then it directly updates into the emulator. So yeah, but the rest is, I guess, pretty standard. So that's the emulator. This is Visual Studio Code. So I prefer Visual Studio Code since I also do a lot of C# development, and I really like to work in Visual Studio Code. And what we need to do now is in order to do automated UI testing, we need to create an app package. So like we need to create the APK, which is the file format of Android apps. And to do this, we go back to the terminal, and I have the, oh, I don't want to remember the line for creating the APK. So back to the terminal. So we paste this in, and then React Native will do its job and start to prepare the solution in order that the Android build tools can create the APK. Yeah. Also, we have to create a folder. If this error pops up while you try to build the app, then you just need to create the specified folder. So it's the React Meetup, and it wants to have the Android app source main assets. And do this again. So that was the first step, and the next step is we will use Gradle as the default build system to just create the APK package. So this will take 1 or 2 minutes. In the background, the Android toolset now creates the APK. If we would have an iOS project, we would just use Xcode to build our IPA file for the iPhone. And while we're waiting here, let's see, this worked. So like our first build that we checked in 10 minutes ago, the build has completed. So now we can, on the one side, we can just download the build. So if we click here, we will get redirected to the, okay, it takes a bit. We will get redirected to the APK that has been created. But what also happened is we created this launch test. So we told the build system to deploy the app to real device and then launch the app. So we can see this in the test results page. And here we see the app launch tests, and we see that the app was deployed on a real Google Pixel XL. This is the screenshot of our app running on a real device. So we know the app starts up. We see the memory footprint. We see how long the test run was on the device, and can see some other data. And what our goal is, so like this was, we could simply do by just setting a switch to on and off. But what we want to do is we do not just want to launch our app on one device. We want to launch our app on 10 devices or on 15 devices, and then tap all the buttons on those devices and create screenshots just to see how the app behaves on different devices. We can also check on the React Meetup for iOS and see the tests or the build. This is still queued. So, oh no, this also the build completed. So we can also download the build, the logs, or the symbols and source map of the iOS app. So this is also a really cool, cool thing. So the build of our APK was successful. So now we just navigate into the app build, outputs, APK, and we see there's an app release unsigned.apk. All Android apps need to be signed before they go to the App Store, but for UI testing, we don't need to care about that. So we can just take this, this APK here. And what we do next is now we want to create our automated UI test. And for that, I will fire up Visual Studio for Mac. Yeah. Go. Just a second. Yeah, so this is Visual Studio for Mac, and I will just go ahead and create a new project. I select Android test, and I have a UI test app. The language I have to write it, as I said before, is C#. I hit next, I give it a name, like React Meetup UI test, create. So the test is created. And now what we just have to do is we have to tell the test project where our APK lives. For that, I will just copy the APK that we just generated into the folder where this test project lives in. To find out where it lives, I just right-click and say Reveal in Finder. So here's our testing project, and I will take our unsigned APK and copy it in here. It's the app release unsigned APK. I just copy the file name, comment this line in, and replace this here with the file name. And yeah, let's just run the test. So like I go to unit tests, run all. Build succeeded. I also, so now here on the right hand side, I again have Visual Studio for Mac. On the left, the Emulator comes up, and you see the app started. Nothing happens because we also didn't specify anything to happen. But what we can do now, and that's a pretty cool feature about the Xamarin UI test, we can just type in app.repl. And if we run the test again now, the app will start up, and we will get a REPL interface. So we can just directly work with this app from this command line window here. And yeah, just to show you how this looks, we can do stuff like app dot, and we have Intellisense, which is, or like we have code completion console style, which you can see on the bottom. So what we can do is we can do app dot tap, and we want to tap the button red. And the button red was tapped. We can do app dot tap blue, and the blue button is tapped. So this simulates real interaction with the app. It's not just like calling some internal functions. It's really simulating inputs and stuff. You cannot just tap buttons. You can also input text into fields. You can move the device. You can drag and drop. You can pinch and zoom. You can do all this kind of stuff. In this web interface, it's a really great way just to try out. So you don't have to build again and again to see if your test works. So like we know that app.tap red and blue will work. I assume that green will also work. So we will just script our UI test. So we can create as many test methods as we like. Press all buttons.
All the tests I write simultaneously with one code base for iOS and for Android.
Theoretically, yes.
Make some small amendments.
Yeah. So the thing is that like the projects are specific for iOS and Android, but the source code, like the Xamarin UI test source code, like all of the stuff you write, that you can use on both platforms. So like this is platform agnostic, but you need to have separate projects, and then you can basically share your test project. Yes.
For example, when you so how would you test in iOS app, for example? Because iOS, when you want to run the iOS device, then you need different emulator.
Yeah, right. Then it will shoot up the iOS, the iPhone simulator.
So you can configure this test in order to run in the different simulator. Or?
Yes. Yeah, you can just, so like if you do an iOS UI test, then it will of course use the Xcode iPhone simulator, for example. Yeah, so like that does not matter.
Have you tried that before?
Hmm?
Have you tried
Yes, but on iOS I haven't really used it on React Native project, but on Xamarin projects. But it works the same on React Native, because the thing is that in the end, no matter what underlying technology you use, it will always use the app build. So like no matter if you can also do this with Objective-C iOS apps if you want to. So one important thing to note, which makes a lot of things easier, is that each of these test methods will restart the application. So you can have multiple tests in one test project. So if you want, you can have different scenarios. For example, you can simulate different kind of login flows, or you don't need to like manually navigate back to the home page. You just create a new test method for each scenario you want to run. So in this scenario, I want to press all buttons. So like I do app.tap, and I want to tap the red button. I then want to take a screenshot, and I want to give this screenshot a name, which is red page. Then I want to tap the green button. I also want to take a screenshot, green button, and I want to tap the blue button. And I want to take a screenshot again, and it's the blue page. Okay. Let's save this and go to unit tests. Oh, this is still running because we are in the REPL, so let's stop this one. Oh, come on, stop it. It does not want to.
Maybe you need to exit the REPL console.
Oh, that's a very good idea. Awesome. That's it. Okay, so now we have our next test. So the app comes up. That's the first test method. So now the app closed because we go into the next test method and the different buttons are clicked. We can also do stuff like wait for stuff, search if elements are on the screen. But for now, it's nice that we can do this on the emulator, but now we want to run those tests on real devices. And to do that, we just go back to the Azure Mobile Center, go to our Android Meetup app, and we click on tests. And now we can create a new test run here in the top right. Oh, first of all, oops. And now we can browse through 236 different devices, which we want to let the app run on. So like we can, for example, select the Galaxy S8 or maybe some low-end Nokia X device, or maybe we can also select some tablets. Maybe this here. Also, like you find very exotic stuff in here. That's sometimes very interesting. Oh yeah, this looks crappy. So, and now some other nice devices. Unfortunately, they don't have like Galaxy Note 7s there, because it would be cool if you could like remotely blow up Microsoft facilities by deploying apps on the devices. But they have a Note 5 and a Meizu, so like that's enough. So we select 6 devices. We give it a name. Launch tests. Yeah, we do button tests. Create. We can select the system language. So like we can also select, do we want to have a Dutch, a French, a Danish, German, and English system installed on the device. So that's also cool if you want to see how your app localizes in some of the most popular languages and Danish. And then you can select the test framework that you want to use. So Calabash is still supported, and I really hope that there will be some kind of community that continues to develop Calabash together with Cucumber. You can also here on Android select Espresso, which is the Google framework for UI testing of Android apps. If you have an iOS project, you can select the Xcode UI tests, but we will select the Xamarin UI test. And we hit next. And then we will get an instruction on how we have to submit the test. And to do that, I already, of course, installed the Mobile Center command line interface. What's awesome about the Mobile Center is it has a great API. Everything you can do here on your device, you can do on the website. You can also do it from the command line. You also have a very well documented API that you could use to integrate this in your custom build system or whatsoever. And then what you just need to do is you need to copy this customized command. I will just, just paste it here. And I have to look into the folder, and then we have to see how we need to edit this one here. So we have the build directory, the path to path to UI test builds directory. There we have just to look, okay, we will launch the command line in this Meetup UI test folder, so we have to navigate to bin debug, and in here are the necessary files that run the UI test. So we will just go into bin debug, and we need to specify the path to file.apk. So we have it right here in okay, we have it right here in the root. So we will I think we have to just move it one layer down, and then we just have the app release unsigned.apk. App release unsigned.apk. So I copy this, I go to the terminal, and I will navigate into this folder, which is in cd projects, React Meetup UI test, React Meetup. Okay, and then we will just go ahead and execute this command. What failed? We have searched for directory packages, Xamarin UI test, tools. Okay, yeah, this sometimes happens. What it's searching for is it's searching for this testcloud.exe. If this thing comes up, just go to the packages folder, copy the testcloud.exe, and put it right here, because then you can just add the UI test tools directory, tools minus directory, and then it's preparing the test. So what it's doing now is it's utilizing the testcloud.exe, which will upload the tests and the APK to the Azure Mobile Center. This is not a perfect process. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it's still, you still have might be possible that you face some problems. So in the future, the Azure Mobile Center, it's still under development. So what hopefully will be available very soon is that you can just upload your UI test, maybe in your GitHub, in your Git project, and then you can automatically run the UI tests also after every build, because currently you need to manually run this from the command line. So it's validating the tests, and you can also go to the Mobile Center again, and you see right here that currently our test is running on 3 devices. There are no devices completed out of our 4 devices, and 1 device is still pending. This also might take some minutes, since it has to wait for the availability of the devices. What's really nice is that while Azure Mobile Center is in preview, it's free to use all of Mobile Center. It's free to use the automated build, the UI testing, everything. While this is building, I can show you a sample of another app where we use crashes analytics. Oh, no crash group. That's good. So, so like this is, for example, how like in a super small app the usage looks like. And this is the analytics dashboard. This also, yeah, you can filter here a bit. yeah, this also is still under development. You can there's a big document which tells you which features will come. What's nice for React Native is that code push will be available in Azure Mobile Center soon, so you can directly push your updates through code push aside from the app stores onto your client's devices. Another nice thing is you can use an Azure built-in identity system. For this, you need to attach this to an Azure subscription. What's very cool is if you want to play around with this is there's something called Visual Studio Dev Essentials, and this gives you free Azure credit. I think like $25 per month, which is pretty good because a lot of the Azure services you can also select a free plan, which just limits you to development purposes. But for development they work great. And if you want to try something out, you have $25 per month for a year. Or if you're a startup and you have less than I think $1 million of annual revenue, you can apply for BizSpark, and then you will get 5 subscriptions, and each subscription has $150 of monthly Azure credit, which is also super cool. You can also use the table storage, which is a nice service, but that's a topic for a different talk. So let's see how the React Meetup app is doing. So the test is still running. One thing we can just do, because it's possible, is we can just update or push our updates that we just did to GitHub, and as soon as the update is done, we can directly see here in the build system that it registered that there's a new commit in our GitHub, so it will wait until it's our turn to build the project. So the same also happened, of course, for the iOS project. So this is also, so the iOS project is currently building. I don't know why. Oh no, it's here. So this is currently building. So it's super cool because it works really well. Another cool thing that I haven't tried before, because this is really new, that's only there since like a few days or so, is you can one thing that has been there before and that I will show you before, is that you can set up your build to first of all sign the build. So like we can just upload a key store file. That's this, and we can distribute the builds, and then our testers will get an email notification. They can download the APK on their phones, so I can save this one, which is really cool. But I will cancel this build here, and I will also cancel this build because I will just disable the launch test, because this is the thing that takes most time. So in order that we have a chance to see the automated distribution, I just disable the launch test of the app. So now we just configured it in a way that we can have this collaborators list in the distribution panel. We can add email addresses here. So we can add collaborators, and everybody will get an email as soon as a new build is available. I can have different groups, so like I can set up different branches that will notify different testers that updates are available. And in the meantime, it's running on 2 are complete, perfect. And another nice thing is that now you can connect it to the Google Play Store. So from Azure Mobile Center, you can also directly publish your APK to the Google Play Store. So you can really go from command line to store with Azure Mobile Center, do your continuous integration, testing, run unit tests, run UI tests, distribute it to testers, collect feedback, collect crashes, see the analytics of your application, and then also publish it, for example, to the Google Play Store.
Also, this UI test that we wrote before, for example, when you make a commit to your app and then the app gets built, and then this test also runs here with the commit that I had earlier.
Yeah, that's currently the problem, since this is still under active development. This is currently not possible. You can build it yourself because we have access to the API for Azure Mobile Center. So you can just invoke your test. Yeah, that you can do. Yeah, you can build it there, download the APK, and you can also automate this. So like you can build yourself a small build script and automate this. While the test is running, we can just check if we can see something. So we see the two different test methods are listed here. So they already run on this Nokia device and the Galaxy Note 5. So we can also see, it's loading, so I just select one device, so like we can see which screenshots have been taken. So everything works fine from here. We also, again, see the memory footprint, the test duration, and all this kind of stuff. And as more devices complete, they will also appear here side by side. So that's a really useful tool if you want to do UI testing on a lot of Android devices. One last thing I would like to show. Before that, come on. So like, for example, in this project, there are like a lot of branches. We have set up 2 builds and development. In this case, something broke. I guess I have to check what broke. But I think in this configuration is we deliver the development branch that's delivered to all testers of the app, or like the developers, and then the builds branch is updated every couple of days, and this goes out to a broader range of testers. And now what I want to show is Visual Studio. There's Azure Mobile Center, but there's also the big tool, which is Visual Studio Team Services. And this is really for like highly professional automation and CI. It works very well together with Azure Mobile Center. Go. Great. I always forget the login page. VSO. Come on. I don't need to get started. So again. Are there any questions in between on what I've showed so far? No.
What plans to connect these 2 fields?
Oh yeah, good question. So like, I think that we already can see how Microsoft plans to also at some point monetize it for some users, and this is, I guess, the integration is this tab here. So like, if you want to, you can connect this to your Azure subscription, and then you can use Active Directory as an identity system for your app. You can use social sign-in for your app. You can use this table storage, which is really cool if you have used with Firebase before. That's a bit like what Firebase offers you for synchronized data storage and stuff. So I guess this is a way where you can have like a premium tier, where you can have like big user bases. But what's nice about, or what I find nice about how Microsoft is currently handling it for other products is that always you can use it for free for smaller projects. So like if you're still in development or have a small app that does not generate revenue, you usually never reach the limits that are set. So like there are very fair limits on API calls and build hours. So currently you cannot build longer than 30 minutes, which I never reached even with like pretty big projects. So I think that that's pretty fair. And what I guess is that the idea is also to pull you more into Azure. So like this can be an entry portal into Azure. And if you like this, maybe you check out Azure and you connect your Azure table storage, and then you should have an Azure Cosmos DB or whatever, and that will, I guess, generate the revenue. But there's no clear statement about that. Yeah, it's still in developer preview, and in developer preview the limits are super fair. So like, yeah, there's nothing I really miss. Yeah, one thing just to show here, Visual Studio Online, you can also host your source code, so it has a pretty good Git integration. You can have your workflow tracked in Scrum teams, and you can also have build and release definitions, and those are a bit more complicated, but you can do whatever you want. So Visual Studio Mobile Center gives you the possibility to it just works most of the times. But what you can do here is you can completely customize your build and add whatever. This is also completely platform agnostic. So if you want to use Ant, or if you're on Python or CMake, whatever, if you want to use CocoaPods, like everything works there. You can also integrate your own script. So like if you're interested in this is also definitely worth a look. But otherwise, yeah, the mobile center is the place to go. And let's see how the test results are. Okay, so like 3 devices are completed. So I guess this will take some other minutes. And yeah, we can also monitor the progress here in our terminal. But that's basically what I wanted to show today. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I hope that some of you are interested and give Mobile Center a look. Yeah, I use it for some projects, and so far I'm super happy with Mobile Center. And also automated UI testing, because on Android sometimes it really gets you when you see how it looks on other devices sometimes. Yeah. So thanks for now. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Any questions? Otherwise, I will just...
Question to
Yeah,
Android
perfect.
versions.
Yes.
Now, obviously, these phones are all on different versions. I guess. How do you address this in the Android SDK?
How do you mean when you build your React Native app?
Yeah. Now, say the Android 4.1.2 would fail.
Okay. Yeah. Then you could see you can get the logs. So like you see the log of what happened on the device, the device logs and the test logs, and if something would fail, you would see the exception here somewhere in the log. So and then you can try to figure out what the reason is, or if you miss like a compatibility library or something like that. So yeah.
The other question is, in the beginning you entered these accessibility codes in the input fields or button fields. These are needed in order for the CLI to address those.
Right. So when you enter here, if you say app.tab-red, then this will search inside of the accessibility codes. So that's why they are needed. You can also iterate through the app, and you can do it with your REPL, and you can directly select the IDs, but this is the most straightforward way. What's a bit not so cool is that because of this, you break your accessibility of the application. So that's something you have to think about. And I mean, of course, you could also just paste in here what the real accessibility tag says. So then your test doesn't look that cool. But that's a problem I think that should be solved. But I'll get them. Sorry again?
Can you also do something like expand or something like that to define which language I'm writing in my UI?
Yeah, so like on the UI test side, you have this REPL window that I showed before, and there you can browse a bit through. But for other stuff, I would propose to use the React Native tools to debug your UI and this kind of stuff. So like the UI test is really limited to testing the app. You can, of course, also navigate to pages, enter text into text fields, all this kind of stuff. But it's not for debugging your UI. It's really for running a test. Watch the result and then take this result and see how you improve things. So I think this. Oh yeah, the UI test is also now finally due. So like all tests passed, which is good. I don't know why it's not showing all devices. Maybe it needs some time to refresh. Oh, now all 4 devices are here. So we also see that it looks very good on the S8, which is important. We can also click through here. And what's also good in this overview, you directly see if something sticks out. This is, for example, the case, and that's the last thing. I think I had a sample here somewhere. That's the case with some versions of Samsung's Android. So like as you can see here, it looks as it should on all devices, but on the Samsung device it has some blue bar on top, because this is how Samsung wants Android to look like on the Galaxy S7. So this is then the kind of stuff you see in UI tests, and I mean this is like for a button app, so it gets a bit more spectacular if you have a real app, a bigger app. Yeah, then you really see and spot the problems your users will run into, and maybe they cannot reach some buttons and this kind of stuff. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
Some more questions.
Yeah, sure.
You said you can, at some point in time, choose your test framework. So you have the Espresso or Cologne or Xamarin. Well, do you have a recommendation? You're always using Xamarin, or? So
I really liked Calabash and Cucumber, but I did not really want to show it today because it might be obsolete in 1 or 2 months if no community, if there's not a community drive to like push this forward. So I really like Xamarin UI tests. I mean, I also usually do Xamarin app development. So I have Visual Studio for Mac installed anyways. I do C# anyways. But the thing is, I mean, like, you don't really need to learn a new language because, I mean, that's the source code, kind of source code you will write. So it's nothing too complicated. So I use this for now because Calabash is not supported. Appium is also nice, but has a big overhead. So like this is more. I find Appium way more difficult to set up. And this is the only other cross-platform solution, right? So like Xamarin UI tests work with Android and iOS. Espresso only works with Android, and Xcode UI tests only run with iOS. So if you prefer to do that, that's totally fine. But I use Xamarin UI test. Anything else? Otherwise, yeah.
How do you compare React Native to Xamarin?
Good question. How do I compare React Native to Xamarin? Yeah, so like as I said, I mostly do Xamarin app development because I originally come from the .NET world. I currently, for my commercial projects, prefer Xamarin because we usually have like a very big focus on UI and user experience. So we also don't use Xamarin has 2 different technologies. You have Xamarin Forms, which is more similar to React Native because you really just write one code base, and you have Xamarin Platform, where you have one iOS, one Android project. You use the storyboard designer and zip files, and the real native, unabstracted iOS libraries, and on Android you use AXML to build your UI and use the real Android style of doing stuff. So there I have the full control on building the UI, and I share all the business logic and web communication and stuff. So where I or we for our project always draw the line is there's kind of one line where it's as much work as optimizing your React Native app on the UI side, that this becomes so expensive time-wise that you could also have built it natively. And for us, this is most of the times the case, because when the designer says that's the way, then that's the way. And yeah, so like that's yeah. So currently I'm more on the Xamarin side, but I really it depends a bit. If Xamarin does not catch up with some of the React Native features, like the hot swap, I mean that's huge for development time, right? So like for Xamarin Native, I have deployment times of 2 minutes, and here I have it in under a second. So I mean that's a huge difference. The other thing is, for Xamarin, I have the better debugging tools. So depends a bit. I will have my eyes on both technologies, and I think both have its up and down sides. But I live more in the Xamarin world currently. So yeah. Yeah. Please.
And what's with testing on UWP apps created with React Native?
Oh, good question. Yeah, you can also do that. Because you can use Xamarin UI tests also on UWP, but then
the checkbox is there in this UI.
Where you mean on Visual Studio for Mac?
Not Visual Studio for Mac.
So here,
this test suite.
Yeah, here you would need to create a new app. Then you create Windows.
But then there is no React Native button.
That's true. So
yeah.
like I guess this will come. But this is independent of the UI test, because the UI test you can still do.
Okay.
But for Windows also, there is no test cloud. So like Microsoft does not provide thousands of Windows devices, because because you have so many possibilities in Visual Studio to simulate different screen sizes and stuff, and you don't have a Windows fragmentation, right? So like you have Windows 10. And the fragmentation, you don't really have the need to test on different device types, because it's Windows 10, and on iOS you have the fragmentation between iPhone and iPad, and you have fixed screen sizes, and on Windows you also have another way to build apps, because your UI is way more flexible than, for example, on iOS and stuff. Anything else?
Can you also use Mobile Azure Center for testing mobile websites?
Good question. Currently not. Currently it's limited for apps. So everything you can fit into an app, you can test. But it's currently not made for websites. And like on the roadmap that's public, it does not state that there's web in the works. So I guess that, yeah, maybe in the future. But in the first place, they still need to integrate so many stuff for mobile apps. So I guess this would need at least a year or so.
What about hybrid apps? So our app is we have an app shop which is written native, but at some point refer to our mobile website for booking engine.
That's an excellent question, and I have never tried the scenario, but that I also would need to try. Depends. So like as long as you can somehow make it work, that the correct buttons in your web view are triggered, then this will work. But I guess this is a bit tricky.
That's why I came up with the expanding stuff. Because when you actually want to tap a button in an app, which has some kind of HTML design. So for example, when you say that you have a hybrid app which has a complete website running inside, then you can't actually directly go to the native elements of an app, but you have to go inside and find the elements in the HTML markup.
Right. So like,
okay, you have a button somewhere in the markup, then probably it would be in the one idea to use the expert to find this button like this, and then tap it.
Yeah.
But then the question was like, if we can use the XML, for example, here in this class, and then find this element.
Actually, I don't think that it currently can do this. theoretically, you could build your own framework to do that you integrate into the web view and that talks back and forth with React Native. That would be super cool, but
We can actually go inside and use that spot and then go inside.
also for the web view. Okay, yeah, I've never tried that before. So yeah, then that would be the solution maybe to use Calabash.
Yeah, we tried that Calabash and also in Appium.
Okay.
But it's different because you need different XPath definitions for iOS and Android when it comes to entering the iPhone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then I mean, like it's possible here, but then it's double the work. Then it's not cross-platform. Yeah. But good to know that this is possible. Yeah. Okay. Other questions? Otherwise, I'll stick around if you want to. Also, if you have some questions about Xamarin or would like to see a Xamarin project or some other questions about how to make this work, feel free to ask. I also like to talk about cloud computing, so I do a lot of stuff in Microsoft Azure. So if you have any question on that, feel free to contact me or also write me on Twitter or email. So yeah, thanks for listening and have a nice evening from now.